You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 1 time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down.
Word. Welcome to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, and I'm your host, Greg Hill, the culture change agent. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generation of leaders. And today, I got a show for you. Man, this is an exclusive. This is a one-of-one. We've never had somebody like Lex on the show, man. So I'm really excited to break down a lot of stereotypes, a lot of misnomers, and also too just show love and appreciation for this brother and his journey, and where he's been, and most importantly, honestly, where he's gonna go, man. So I just read his bio. It's phenomenal. So without further ado, Minority Trailblazer Nation, I want you to make some noise for my brother and welcome Lex Gillette, right? Gillette or Gillette? Gillette.
Gillette, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Like the razor.
Lex Gillette to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, man. Welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I'm definitely glad to be here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm excited for you to be here, man. So before we begin, can you share with our audience a quote or a mantra that you live by, and then share with us a story about how you apply that quote or your mantra to your everyday life?
Absolutely. The quote for me, I would say, is no need for sight when you have a vision. No need for sight when you have a vision. How I apply that to my life on a daily basis is ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not the sight that determines our success. It's our ability to see a vision, to have a vision, and then to create a plan, a strategy to be able to bring that vision into fruition. I live by that on a daily basis. You always need a strategy to be able to bring your visions, your aspirations, your dreams into reality.
Man, and and that note, man, let's just jump right in, man. Can you share with the audience, man, a little bit about yourself, what drives you, where you're from, all that, man? It's your show.
Yeah, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina as a kid in Raleigh. I was doing it all: video games, bicycles, playing outside with friends. One day I had come home from school, and that night, as I was in the bathroom, as I was actually getting ready for bed, I started noticing that I was going blind for no reason at all. No accident, didn't fall or anything. Went to the doctor, and after an examination, they said I needed to have an emergency operation because I was suffering from retina detachments.
Wow. And how old were you again?
8 years old.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
8 years old. So you hear, like, with retina detachments, boxers get it a lot because they're, bap, 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 hitting each other in the head and stuff. And so there's blunt force. There's something that actually causes that. But to my knowledge, at that age, I couldn't really think of anything outside of the normal 8-year-old activities that something I could have pointed to and said, all right, this is why this happened. So that led to a string of 10 operations that I had that year. And after the last one, doctors said that there was nothing else they could do to help my sight. And they said that I would eventually become blind. So, none of them were, wish the operations could have helped. But from there, it was go home, go through your normal routine. you wake up each day seeing a little less than what you do the day before until one day you wake up and you're not able to see anything.
Wow. So at this point, you're 8 years old. You are living a normal life. Then 10 surgeries, and now you can't see anything. So where did you go from there?
From there, it was, of course, I went through a grieving period, if you will, and just had to had to go through that transition, figuring out how I was going to finish school, figure out how I was going to be able to navigate and walk around on my own, just figuring out how to interact with people and socialize and live just a typical life. And I had my mom there, who was a really strong influence, and she drove a lot of, she engineered a lot of my success. And in the beginning, it literally just started off as she wanted me to be successful. She wanted me to be independent so that I could go out into the world, live a meaningful life. So she taught me how to do chores. I had to clean my room, wash dishes, take out the trash, all those things. She was very much a no excuses type person. So just because you can't see anything doesn't mean that you can't do chores. It doesn't mean that you can't finish school. It doesn't mean that you can't make friends and have a good time. And she found someone to teach me how to read Braille. She found someone to teach me how to utilize a cane so I could navigate around on my own. Just really encouraged me to get out there and do my thing. And that helped me to build my confidence. Ultimately, I just started looking at myself differently, and my self-image changed, self-esteem rose. And the next thing you know, I want to say a few years later, probably now like 7 years after I had lost my sight, I was introduced to track and field in high school. Had a teacher who saw that I was athletically gifted and talented. He had taught me about the Paralympic Games and what the Paralympics is the highest pinnacle competition for athletes who have a physical disability. And I had been introduced to track and field, to long jump specifically, and to sprint events. And once I had gotten that introduction, man, the rest is history.
Yeah, man, that's huge, man. So let's take a couple steps back. One, how are you doing chores at that age and you can't see? Like, how are you washing dishes and doing that? Like, walk us through that, especially as a kid.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's one of those. It's one of those things where, like, first of all, again, just to give more context, like my mom is she's just a strong, Black woman, like, and like in our culture, like your moms, they just expect you to, they just expect you to do your absolute best and expect you to uphold a certain type of like a lifestyle and be able to, go out in the world and do your thing. So circling back to being at home, her expectations for me were very high, even though I was blind. So when you think about doing chores, specifically washing the dishes, I knew where the dishwashing liquid was located. So find that. I would turn the water on, of course, put the stopper in, throw some of the dishwashing liquid in there. And so in the actual washing the dishes, you can feel when there are certain things on the plate. You can feel when there are certain things stuck on a pot or a pan. So I'm having to use the cloth or the pad, the Brillo pad or whatnot to scrape these items off of the pot or pan or the plate. And my mom would go back and she would check also to make sure it was clean. So if I had messed up and there was still something on the plate, she would put it back in the sink. I'm like, man, what's going on here? But again, like just circling back to my initial point, like you have to do things a certain way. You got to do it right. If you don't do it right the first time, then we're going to get it right the second time or the third time if need be. So after a while, when I got used to washing dishes, it was a matter of me like scrubbing them profusely and making sure that it was squeaky clean, so that I wouldn't have to worry about doing it like cleaning the same thing a second time. So I mean, you just gotta you just gotta do your thing. And so similar, like if I'm taking out the trash or anything like that, I would learn where the dumpster was in relation to my house, so I could walk out and know that, okay, when I get to the sidewalk, then I will take 5-6 strides, and then I can turn left, and then I'll walk all the way up the sidewalk until I reach the grass. And then once I reach the grass, I know I need to turn to the right. Once I turn to the right, I take 2 steps, and maybe I have to step off the curb, line myself up, and go towards the dumpster, throw it over the top, bam, bam, hit that U-turn, and then retrace my steps back to the house.
Man. So, and walk us through, how does the cane work? I've always known, and the reason why I'm asking this, because I mean, these are questions that people that are not blind probably have never been able to ask. So it's always, I'm always curious. Like, I mean, you see the cane and y'all stop at stop signs, etc. And I'm like, how does that work?
Yeah. It's one of those things where the cane, it serves as a type of your sight, if you will. So I'm sliding it from left to right, and I'm able to detect whether or not there's a curb in front of me, whether or not there's a pole, there's a set of stairs that are going up or down. And I would say that, so I had an orientation and mobility specialist. And so this is a person that specifically teaches you how to use the cane, teaches you about certain techniques. Then they also teach you about helping you to navigate around some of your more familiar areas, like going to school or your neighborhood or your even stores and areas within the community. So I had this teacher who would literally create these maps, these tactile maps, so that you could feel where certain things were in streets and crossings. And then he would also write the street names and the places in Braille so I could know. And I was creating these images in my head. And just with anyone, if you occupy space regularly, like your home, after a while, you just begin to, you know where to go. If I were to say, hey, Greg, I need you to like close your eyes and get from your kitchen to your bedroom, you will probably be able to do that. So with me, I'm able to do that around my house. I'm able to, around my neighborhood. I know that there are certain stores that I can get to. I can get to the post office, the movies, wherever. And the same thing with school. I learned how to get from English class to math, from math to history to the gym to the cafeteria to the bus stop. And after a while, it's easy, boom, boom, boom. And you're just able to navigate and move smoothly around.
Man, that's huge, man. That's cool. So now take us there. You're 15 years old. You get introduced to track and field. Get introduced to the Paralympics, man. So where do you go from there, man?
I joined my high school track team my junior year. And so I had my teacher, Mr. Whitmer, there alongside me. He would help me in the sport. So specifically how it works is when I'm competing in long jump, he stands at the takeoff board and he's clapping and yelling, straight, 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 straight. So that gives me that audible reference so I know which direction to run. And from there, it's me counting my strides, and on the appropriate stride, then I'll jump. And of course, in the beginning, it's challenging. You're having to put your trust into someone's hands, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's a challenge. But after a while, I think when we get into these challenging moments and these different circumstances, you just have to ask yourself, if you don't give yourself a shot,
Mm-hmm.
a chance, and what sort of success are you totally removing from your life? Like, what are you just eliminating from your path by not giving something a try? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what literally got me back out there and kept me going. And yeah, it was tough because you're running and you're like thrusting yourself, propelling yourself in the air. But as with all things, you do it, start doing it more and more, you get comfortable with it. And I had gotten a lot more comfortable. I joined my high school track team, so I was amongst like-minded students and athletic kids, and we all just started to, bond and mesh, and that was really huge for me to be a part of a team. I felt like they wanted me to be there, and
Mm-hmm.
they were inspired. I'm pretty sure to a certain degree, and I learned from them as well. Um, but over that year, I wasn't the best, of course, when I first started. But by the end of my junior year, I was jumping 16, 17 feet,
Wow.
and going into senior year, that's when things really, really got going. And I was jumping at that time like 18, 19 feet consistently. I was one of the better jumpers on the school
Mm-hmm.
track team, and it was kind of dope too because like people were just like, man, this is crazy. Like this guy is he's able to jump, and he's blunt. So yeah.
Yeah, man. So how if you kind of, so now walk us through, where'd you go to school after that? You go to high school? Did you run track in college? Like, walk us through that.
Yeah, I graduated from Athens Drive High School in
Yep.
Raleigh, and then I went to East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't compete uh, for my college the entire time. I went out the first semester, and eventually I just decided to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I sought out someone in the exercise and sports science department,
Mm-hmm.
and we developed some workouts that I was able to complete.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always spent a lot of time in the student rec center, spent a lot of time running on the track, lifting weights, and I did it that was my structure basically for the time that I was in college. And I was still able to make teams during that time, which was good. But it was definitely a different environment because I didn't have Mr. Whitmer there on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
to really help me the way that I was used to in high school. But I was able to get by with what I was doing in college. And then once I graduated from college, then I moved to the Olympic Training Center in San Diego, California. And that was where I was really able to make that transition and that transformation into full-time athlete.
Mm. So walk us through socially, right? So we're gonna get to where you are today, and I mean, speaking across the country, man, some of the brand partnerships you've been able to do, etc. But how would you say you've have allowed you to get stronger with dealing with the fact that I may not be able to see things, and once you get control of that, it's fine. But then you have to work with others. I mean, there's dating. There is simple day-to-day tasks. There is you really maybe not can pick up on certain cues visually because you can't see. So
Yeah.
how did you kind of navigate that? Did you have help, and how has that process been throughout your journey?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I think that when I had first lost my sight, immediately I had to transition to just trying to figure out how I was going to your point, complete a lot of the day to day tasks and get through school, figure out how I'm gonna get around. Um, but when you talk about the social maturity, that happened more so when I had gotten into college, I would say, because I was on my own. having to get around this large university. I didn't have my mom or anyone there to speak on my behalf and do things for me. So I was, I was transforming into a young man. So just having to do things on my own and take initiative and take responsibility. So I'm there in Greenville, East Carolina University. It's a pretty large campus spread out across the city, and I'm having to make friends. I'm having to figure out how to get from class to class and having to ask for assistance sometimes. And one of the other things I think that helped me out also too was I had a number of people from my high school who went to ECU also. So I was able to pick their brain and able to kick it with them sometimes. And they would help me out. So excuse me, that was really huge. But also there were times where I had classes where I didn't have any friends in there. So it's a little awkward feeling when you, as a blind or visually impaired person, goes into a classroom and you may have to find that seat, or you may have to navigate around people. And sometimes, again, people don't know. So sometimes, like, they're trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. So you got two people, they can't get on the same page. So what really helped me out a lot also, I think, is the fact that I would make sure that I would get into class as early as possible, so I wouldn't have to worry about having to step around people to try to go down the aisle to get to a seat. And that just made me feel a lot more comfortable. And then once I was able to make friends and they knew how I operated, then, I had a little more leeway in terms of a month into having that class, people know you. And so if I do show up a little later than what I would normally, then, they kind of like, oh, Lex, you can come over here. We got a seat right here for you. So that helped out a lot. And then, as you can imagine, going to cafeterias and other places where there's a lot of people, you have to navigate those places. And using the cane, I think, gave people that indicator to let them know that, okay, we might need to step to the side, or some people have that confidence to say, hey, bro, you need some help. If I hear some people talking and I feel like I'm out of place, then I had grown to the point where I could say, hey, excuse me, you mind helping me get such and such, or you mind helping me find where the back of the line is so I can order some food, whatever. And like, literally, I had to learn all of those things in college. But I will say, when I was going through the orientation and mobility process, my teacher had helped me to do a lot of those things there. So if I go to the mall and need to pick up some clothes, or if I need to go into Starbucks and grab a coffee or whatever it is, he had engineered that, helping me see that there are certain tactics that you can use to be able to, get the things that you need to get and achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Man, that's huge, man. That's huge. And now let's fast forward to, okay, you're out of college now, man. You're at the Olympic Training Center. When did you slowly start to transition to get into the speaking industry, man, sharing your story? And how has that journey been thus far?
Yeah, when did it all start? So I had, once I graduated from college, I was trying to figure out what that next move was going to be. I knew I still wanted to compete, but I wanted to get as much out of the sport as possible. And I knew that one of the things that I kind of got thrown into a lot was speaking. People naturally want to know Like, what's your fastest 100 time? Or
Mm-hmm.
how much do you eat in a day? And what types of food do you eat? And just the elephant in the room, like, how do you do it? How do you compete? And you're blind. And initially, it was a challenge for me because I was still kind of dealing with. I think I was still dealing with insecurities from just, people are looking at me when I'm talking, and are they looking at me differently, thinking of me differently? Are they are they wondering like, oh my gosh, his eyes look weird, or just everything that swarms your mind. And after a while, it just got to the point where I was thinking to myself, listen, at the end of the day, when you have this opportunity to speak and tell your story, it's not about you. It's about talking to. And so if you relay something to them that will positively impact their lives, then your job is done. Your job is complete. And then after a while, I just got to the point where I was like, man, like, who cares anyway? At the end of the day, in terms of, if they look at me funny, then excuse me, then so be it. If they think of me as being different, then so be it. And so I was able to do a lot more speaking. And then what really helped me was once I started to become a sponsored athlete. So working with the Nike. And
talk us through that. How did that work? Did they reach out to you? And what is a sponsored athlete? What does it look like?
Oh, listen, that journey for me was a long journey, because you try to break into this zone where there are a lot of athletes who are already having these types of relationships with companies. And so I used to see that and be like, man, I want that too. And I knew that when you talk about speaking, I knew that would help me as well, because being able to articulate yourself and to speak to others and explain what you do, how you do it, and then also being able to use what you do to share a message and lessons to others, I knew that would help me out in terms of being able to partner with companies. And I want to say it took me 9 years, 8-9 years to get my first sponsorship.
Wow.
And it was just a long journey. But basically how it looks is, you first and foremost, you got to be good in your sport, right? You got to compete at a high level. And then for me, I had worked on my speaking skills, so I was able to speak and articulate myself. And then it was just a matter of building relationships, man. Building relationships with other people, with agents, with companies. And of course, once you start to get with the agents, they have the connections that you're looking for in terms of being able to work with these companies. And so I had gotten with my agent, and there were a number of opportunities that had crossed my path in terms of being able to speak and share my story. And there was this one event that I did, and I knew the magnitude of it because the audience it was made of the people who I needed to be in front of in terms of brands. And so I made sure that I knocked that one out the park. And next thing you know, that phone started ringing. And
which one was that?
Working with the event.
Yeah, which event did you knock out the park that really changed everything?
Oh, it was just this marketing summit that I had gotten invited to. So of course, given the name marketing, you got marketers in there. You have people who are running these accounts, and so I went ahead and knocked that one out. And the next thing you know, I had signed with Nike. I signed with BP, signed with Procter and Gamble and Dick's Sporting Goods, and 24-hour fitness and
Yeah, man. Tell me about those experiences, if you could. Like, what's been the most enjoyable parts of working with these companies, man? And how do you believe that you've been able to add value?
it is it's really nice. It is really amazing to first and foremost have that support and to have these large companies who they believe in you and they see something within you and they understand that you can add value to what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, literally when you're in these rooms and you're talking with them and vibing with them, it's awesome because at the end of the day, even though I'm in sport and I'm wanting to do well from an athletic standpoint, we're all just wanting to excel and ascend to new heights as human beings and just in the arenas of life that mean the most to us. And so when you think about doing the speaking engagements, having the relationships with the companies, that also helped a lot as well because some of the obligations are speaking at employee events or speaking at company conferences. And that really gave me a platform to work on my craft. And it gave me the opportunity to inspire the audience. And again, to give them a look into what I'm doing and how I do it. And on my end, it's like, well, let me figure out some ways to provide some applicable tools that people can use in their own lives. And the success that I've been able to achieve, I'm hoping that they'll be able to apply those things and achieve the success that they want to achieve in their personal and professional lives.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you connect with these companies and they're huge machines. So they have just crazy amounts of relationships. And next thing you know, you're in different rooms and you're talking to different types of people. So it's just it's a process, and you just got to look at every opportunity as one that can lead to another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. That is what it is, man. So, and tell me, because I know we talked offline about it, man. But tell us about them J's, man. How you were able to get? Did you get it through Nike, or was it through Jordan?
Through Nike, and so of course, Jordan brand is under that Nike umbrella, but yeah. So I just over the years, it's just been collecting them. And I'm a big Jordan fan, of course, being from North Carolina. And when The Last Dance docuseries was coming on, I had to check that out. And of course, there wasn't anything on in terms of sports, so that was a treat for the entire world to be able to get that inside view into that Chicago Bulls team, and especially Michael Jordan. And so when that docuseries was coming on, or when it was on, I said, well, let me go ahead and show everyone how I determine how my J's look and how I identify which ones are what. A lot of people ask, how do you dress yourself and how do you know what shoes are what and what colors they are? So I would post these videos each week and tell how I knew the Jordan 1s were Jordan 1s, or the Jordan 4s are 4s, and 6s, 7s, 8s, whatever, so on and so forth. And it's just me doing normal day-to-day type stuff, and I have everything organized. Organization is a blind person's best friend. Mm-hmm. Knowing where things are located so that you can go back to that same spot and find it. As soon as you have people coming into your room and start moving stuff around, that's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, especially if you're in a hurry. You trying to, you know what I'm saying? You trying to find your wallet, or you trying to find your cane or something like that, and it's not where you left it last. That's you don't really want that. But with the Jays especially, I didn't really expect for it to kind of pop the way it did. But I had did that first one, and I think it has like 160 some odd thousand views on it. Complex Sneakers is tagging me and stuff, and Kicks on Fire, and like all of these sneaker outlets were hitting me up, and then Jordan ended up sending me some more J's.
Wow.
So that was cool. And yeah, man, it was just a wild experience, but it all stemmed from, again, just kind of sharing with the world how I'm able to do what I do on a daily basis.
Man, that's huge, man. So let's take it here. What are some common misconceptions that people have about people that have disabilities, specifically that are blind, that if you could speak to people and educate them on?
Oh, man, I think people just feel like we live this astronomically different type of lifestyle, and don't get me wrong, like we're all, I mean, disability or not, or whatever, we're all different in some capacity, and for me, especially as someone who's blind, people think of it as, you think of blind, you think of guide dogs, sunglasses,
yeah,
and canes. And a lot of people seeing the movie Race, so they're like, oh, okay, well, do you touch people's wrists to determine what they look like? And no. I think it's just a matter of educating people on my life is pretty much normal, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. And again, it all stemmed from having someone like my mom who helped me to see that I still could go out here and hold down the fort in terms of being able to, get a place and keep it clean, and to cook, and being able to, similar to the Jays, being able to dress myself and know how to put outfits together. Just because I'm blind doesn't mean that I don't care about my image or how I look. I want to look good also. And again, coming up in can't even get my thought out. But with my mom and my family especially, when you walk out of the house, you're a representation of your family.
Yeah.
So there's been plenty of times where I've been around people before, and they'll see like kids or whatnot, and they're like, oh man, I would have never let my kid walk out the house looking like that. Like, my mom was certainly that person where I had to get that. She had to look me up and down before I walked out of the door. And so going through those types of things, it's like, all right, let me figure out how to dress myself. Let me figure out how to make sure that I look presentable, so that when I walk out into the world, I look good, and I'm a great representation of where I came from. So making sure that
that's real, man. And speaking of your mom, man, can you just share with us your relationship with your mom and how much she's got it? Because I think we talked offline about it, but I think it's very interesting how much support your mom is giving, and she has her own challenges.
Yeah. No, I think that it's something I rarely ever talk about a lot, because I just didn't focus on it. But with everything that's going on in the world right now, the current climate, the magnitude of what she was able to do during the time that she did it has been phenomenal. So my mom, she's Black, so we can all talk about the challenges that people of color have faced within our country, and especially being from North Carolina. She's a woman, and being a woman, we all know about women's rights and the challenges that they face, and challenges that they still face. And then my mom she's visually impaired as well. She has glaucoma. She was diagnosed with it at an early age in life. However, she still has usable sight, so she can see and see to read and see colors and all those things. But she would be classified as legally blind. She can't drive. And
Wow.
and so she checks three boxes in this realm of like just the magnitude of it is
Yeah,
crazy. That's
it
all I'm gonna
just
say. And so
that's
like
so crazy, man.
um
There's no
and
excuses.
literally, yeah, none at all. None at all. I mean, she always found a way to make it happen when I was growing up. I can't remember a Christmas where I didn't get what I wanted. I always had the resources that I needed from an academic standpoint. She always made sure that, I was able to get the shoes that I wanted and the clothes that I wanted. She she made it happen at the end of the day. And so again, when you think about that trifecta, if you will, um, her being able to do that in North Carolina, in the 90s, 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty phenomenal.
No, man, that's beyond phenomenal, man. And yo, I asked another question, man. You have a girlfriend, right, man? How long have you been with her, man?
But it's been it'll be 3 years in December.
Wow,
Um,
man. How did y'all meet? And the reason I know for you, you probably get this question all the time, things of that nature, but I really just want to point this out to the audience, like you said, to normalize, like, yo, you live a normal life. Like, hey,
yeah.
you want to get treated the same. Of course, if people will help, you'll take the help. But you're giving to the world just as much as you receive to the world, man. I always commend you for that.
Yeah, nah, for sure. Yeah, Danielle and I have been dating, and she comes from the track and field world as well. She was a middle distance runner, 800-meter runner, and went to North Carolina. She actually is a Tar Heel,
Oh,
and
yeah,
we
UNC
actually
Tar
we have
Heels.
a friend. Yeah, we have a mutual friend. But yeah, I mean, I think that even when you talk about dating. So you asked me earlier about the social aspect of it and the challenges with that. So you imagine going on those like first dates, like your first date ever, and you're blind. Like there's a certain type of so it's just it's definitely like, all right, man, well, like, what do I say? Or, like, is she having a good time?
Mhm.
And when I think about when I was able to see, I remember how you could totally look at people and make eye contact and say certain things to them with not even without even saying a word,
Mhm.
and I remember how challenging that was for me. And so uh, it was almost like I was embarrassed and ashamed because it's like, oh man, I can't look at this person, or I can't like compliment them, or oh man, that green looks good on you. And so growing up, that was always a thing. But
Mhm.
as you continue to mature and you figure out other ways to um to compliment people and to engage with them, and uh and so Danielle and I, she was really cool. We're very much we have a lot of things in common in terms of, she loves to have fun. She is, obviously a beautiful person inside and out. And yeah, man, she just,
Man,
that is,
that's amazing,
that's
man.
my rider right there.
And I asked you this offline. I want to ask you this online as well, man. Um, Knowing what you know now, man, would you, if there was an opportunity to get your sight back, would you take it?
Never,
Mm-hmm.
never. And the reason being is because I can't think of anything at this present time in life. I can't think of something that would make me happier
Mm-hmm.
by being able to, by being able to see it. I've been able to achieve so much without being able to see. And so it's like, well, why would I want it back?
Mm-hmm.
I just can't think of anything that it would do to make my life even, to make life better.
Mm.
And so I think at this point, if I had gotten my sight back, I feel like it might even ruin my life. It might even ruin my view on things. Certain things that I see and have my understanding of what it looks like. Being able to physically see it might ruin my whole perspective. And so I certainly, I'm good right now. I'm doing everything that I want to do, and there's still a lot more to achieve. And not having the eyesight, that hasn't been something that has impeded my progress.
If you had to give some encouragement to someone on this listening or watching, and they suffer from a disability, what are some few things that you would tell them, just judging from your experience, your growth as a man, as a person, as a leader?
I would say that I think that being vulnerable, like you have to learn to be vulnerable. In today's times, people look at that as a lack of strength, like you're showing some sort of weakness, if you will. But you have to be able to expose yourself and share what's going on within you with those who genuinely care and love you. And I say that because there were a lot of challenges for me when I had lost my sight, and there was no way for people to help me without them knowing what was going on inside my mind and, internally. And so I think that it's huge that we express our emotions and our feelings to those, again, who we're closely connected to, because you don't want to put that out there for people who don't, they don't really have a connection with you, and they probably could care less. But you have that core group who you vibe with, and people who they want to see you do well in life. And so being able to literally express yourself to them so that they can help guide you, that's really huge. And I would say that for it, whether you have a disability or not, you have to be able to get out here and be honest with others and be honest with yourself.
Nah, that's real, man. And if you had the opportunity, man, your 8-year-old version of yourself walked in, and he was just like, "Yo, how do I deal with this? Like, how do I deal with this?" And this, you're talking to yourself, not how do I deal with this, rather. Let me rephrase that. If you had to give him some words of wisdom, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
What would I tell my 8-year-old self? I would say, man, that's a hard question. I would say that, oh man, Greg, you trying to stump me today. I feel like I gotta tell my 8-year-old self something good. I would say that at the end of the day, I'm trying to think here, man. What would I tell my 8-year-old self, man? I think just what I started with in the beginning of the conversation. Just a lack of sight doesn't equal a lack of vision. At the end of the day, everything that has been created and everything that will be created, it always starts from a vision. So whatever that you have in your mind, it can totally become reality if it is truly something that you believe in. If it's truly something that you see, you can bring it into fruition. And I think that an extension to that is, if it truly is a vision, then you understand that it's something that can transform a community, a culture. It can transform the world. And with that being said, you don't have to do it alone, and you can't do it alone. So you're always going to need other people to help you bring that vision into fruition. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but the beauty of life is, for every area where I'm weak, there's somebody who has that strength. There's someone who can help complement me. And when you bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus people together with these varying views and different skill sets and strengths and different perspectives, that vision, it grows and it snowballs into something even bigger than what you may have saw initially. And next thing you know, that thing gets to moving. You start breaking down barriers and those limitations that you may have previously saw, they're no more. So that has literally been the trajectory of my life. So 8-year-old Lex, a lack of sight does not equal a lack of vision.
Man, love that, man. And how does it feel to have your own day named after you, man? I see September 25th. Yeah, man. Like, how was that? Was there a ceremony associated with that as well?
Yeah. We had I was in Hagerstown, Maryland, and I was up there for an event, and I was surprised. They had taken me to this. I forget where we were specifically, the name of the hall, but next thing you know, the mayor's there and all of these city officials, and they proclaim it Lex Gillette Day, and I'm just like, wow, this is.
Yeah, where did that come from? Because you're not even from there.
I'm not. I think a lot of the work that I've done around the country with mentoring students and just being a voice for others. I think that's where it stemmed from, and yeah, I mean that had blown me away, because you would think that, I mean, I'm from Raleigh,
yeah.
So I would expect to get that type of honor in Raleigh, North Carolina, but hopefully that'll come one day too.
Yeah, man. You ever think you're gonna come back down?
That's a good question. Certainly a good question. I'm not sure. If anything, maybe I'll do a bi-coastal type thing. I'll be in North Carolina for X amount of time and then go back to California for X amount of time. Who knows?
Do you want to have kids one day?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Definitely want to have kids and raise them up to be better than me. So it'll be interesting to see how that transpires. I know that'll be another learning process for me. But I have a number of friends who are blind or visually impaired who they have kids. So I'll be ringing their phone to get some advice. But yeah, definitely want to have some kids in the future.
Man, I didn't know. I had to read your Wikipedia page. I didn't know you was a musician as well. You play the piano, bro? What do you not do? What do you not do, bro, man?
I can't see. That's the only thing I can't do. Is not see.
Yeah.
I can't. So I have a couple of keyboards in the room. So one of my goals right now, because I've recorded songs in the past, and we had actually recorded this song a few years back to raise some money for a cause. And but my goal over the next year is to record an album. So I'm poised to do that. Actually been connecting with some people here in the city to be able to schedule some time to get that off of the ground. But my goal for that too is of course I do all of the speaking, and I had this idea of creating like a speech slash, I wouldn't even call it a concert, but musical-esque type of situation where I'm still telling the stories and still inspiring and giving those lessons, but weaving some songs that align with those things that I'm talking about within the presentation. So it'll be like a hybrid type of situation. So we're gonna see how that all plays out. But that's a part of my vision. So I got to make it happen.
Man, that's huge, man. And at this point, man, but actually, before I go there, tell me how was the experience actually getting silver medal and actually like getting medals at the Paralympic Games, man? Like, walk us through that experience, man, traveling, being in Beijing, London, Athens, Rio de Janeiro. Golly, I can't even say it right, man. How is that? How has that process been, man? It's just competing at the highest level amongst your peers, man, and being able to win some. And how has that whole experience been?
It's been life altering. I think that from the first flight that I took, which was a flight that I took to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to go to the sports camp, to the last major international competition that we had, which was our World Championships in 2019 in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. It was it's been something I would have never imagined. Like I couldn't have drawn any of this up. So to be able to travel the world, to experience different cultures, to meet new people, to try foods from around the world, to go to touristy areas and just to learn how other people live around the world. A lot of the places that we've gone to, you see where they come from and how they live, and you understand that here in the United States, we take a lot of things for granted. Like, we're really blessed. Versus, we've spoken to athletes before who have been, from Kenya or other areas of Africa. And so for us, when we go to the competitions and win the medals, we're thinking about how, okay, this money we about to get, like, okay, oh, you getting the Samsung, the TV, oh, okay, oh, you getting the MacBook Pro, versus the athlete from another corner of the world who has to use that money to keep the lights on, to pay for different resources, to keep their family living. And so it's really mind. Man, you just look at things differently. It changes your perspective. Mm-hmm. And so to build those relationships and friendships with those athletes who, you meet them once, and then next thing you know, you have another competition a few months later or the next year, and then you see them again. You start to know each other's names. And there's been a number of competitors who, I have a couple friends from Spain who we see each other a lot, no pun intended. And we see each other at the competitions, and we'll talk. And it's just, man, to be able to go to Beijing and to go to the Great Wall, to go to Brazil, and to go to the Christ the Redeemer statue, to go to Berlin and Australia and New Zealand, all of these places, man, it's absolutely incredible. And again, I would have never imagined any of this happening, but to be able to travel the world and to do it all while, competing in a sport that you love, and to also be able to be successful in that sport and to get on the podium and to have heard the national anthem and had the flag raised in the air and all of that stuff, man. It's special. It's special.
Man, that's huge, man. So when it's all said and done, man, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as, man, my ultimate goal is to leave something beneficial on this earth that wasn't here before I got here. And I know that's very broad and very, very wide, but I just want to, many years down the line, I want to be able to look back on life and say that, excuse me, something that I did help the next generation and the generation after that to help them to realize potential and help them to get to where they want to go in life. That's what it's all about. I want to open up doors that people who come after me, they won't have to worry about turning that knob and walking through. The door will already be open. And then I want them to see that it's their responsibility to do the same, because they'll eventually walk to a door that's closed and they're going to have to figure out how to open it. And I want them to open that so that the people who come behind them will be able to slide through there as well.
Man, I love that, man. So now we're going to go to the rapid fire round. We ask 5 rapid fire questions, get rapid fire answers. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
What's the best piece of advice that you have never received?
Oh my goodness. The best piece of advice that I've never received. Seeing is believing.
If you could add one habit and take away one habit, what would they be?
Add one habit and take away one habit?
Yep.
I'm going to say take away procrastination and add the opposite of procrastination, doing things in a timely fashion.
Love it, man. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear? Man, not realizing my potential.
If you were the president of the United States, what's the first thing you would do?
The first thing that I would do as a president of the United States, this is so out there, but I would somehow, so I'm working on this speech right now, and I don't want to throw this on everybody, but basically, I don't want anybody to see color. And so I'm not saying I would want I don't want to say I would intentionally do something to take everybody's sight away, but I would employ some sort of strategy that would, help people I would create some sort of potion or something that people would have to take. They would see it as equals in terms of, race, background, all of these things. At this point in time in life, everything that's going on, we need some changes, and especially from a racism standpoint. So, I don't know. I would create some sort of medicine or something, man, to get people's mind right.
Yeah, man. I tell you, bro. I tell you. And then, last question. What's your favorite book or movie and why?
My favorite book is The Alchemist, and my favorite movie is John Q. The Alchemist, man, just the journey of being able to, find your find what you're looking for, find your passion. But that whole John Q situation, that is the epitome of just, Denzel Washington being that father and, doing everything in his power, going to great lengths to be able to save his son's life. And that's the father I want to be for my future family.
Love that, man. So everybody that comes on this show, we're done with the rapid fire. Everybody that comes on this show is a culture change agent. That means they're doing something to shift the culture. And this last question of the whole podcast is simple as this. If you could change one thing about society, most specifically our African-American culture, what would it be and why?
I think that the one thing that I would change is that growing up, you hear a lot, and I don't know if it happens, but I know it happens in ours. The term, stay out of grown folks' business. Kids stay in their place or whatever, and so I would change that. Because I feel like now we're starting to learn so much about mental health and learn about emotions and feelings and all these other things. And so as a kid, I feel like we have certain questions that we want to ask, but for whatever reason, from the adult perspective, they're, like, that's grown up business. You shouldn't ask that. And I think that stunts growth in certain ways, because kids, like kids of everyone, they're learning, they're trying to figure themselves out, they're trying to figure the world out, they're trying to find their place within within this this earth that we live on. And so when you put something on them in that capacity, like, oh well, I can't ask this question, I can't inquire about this, then now it's like you're putting up a stopper or a blocker that is keeping them from truly understanding and growing. And so as they get older, they may experience certain things that could have been taken care of or been explained at an earlier age. Mm-hmm. And I think with everything that's going on right now, and we need to. We need to learn. We need to be educated. We need to educate others. We need to ask questions. And yeah, that's what
man, that means a lot, bro. And I'm excited. And encouraged by, man, your journey, your story is definitely encouraging, inspired me, man. Question, I didn't ask this in the podcast, but I definitely want to make sure I ask it, man. What's your goals for the future, man? Like, what are you working on? Like, what's next in the future, man?
Yeah, so I'm training currently for the Paralympic Games. They were supposed to happen in 2020, but they got postponed until 2021. So the goal is to train, compete there, win gold, and then moving forward, just continue to put good stuff out into the world. I wrote one book that came out in April. It's called Fly, Find Your Own Wings and Soar Above Life's Challenges. So for anyone who's interested, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But I want to write another one. I definitely want to write another book and continue to put those experiences out in the world. And then, of course, going back to what I was mentioning earlier about, creating that hybrid of sorts with the speech and the music. And of course, I'll continue to do the inspirational talks and continue to do the presentations for companies and colleges and organizations out there. So, just always trying to keep myself busy and always trying to share with the world everything that has been shared with me. So we'll see how it all pans out.
Man, I know, and you keep God first and keep yourself, keep doing your thing, man. I know you'll get everything and more, man. So, like I said, I've been empowered, I've been inspired by this. Can you share with the audience where they can find more information about you, things you're working on, support in any capacity?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Lex Gillette, LEXGILLETTTE, and my website is lexgillette.com. I'm pretty active on social media, so definitely hit me up. I'd love to hear from you.
All right, no doubt, man. We're gonna make sure we show so much love for yourself, this episode, so Minority Troublers in Nation. Make sure when this thing drop, make sure you blow them up, man. Say you definitely got something from a story. Tell them one thing you got from it, man, and definitely go support the book. Matter of fact, I gotta grab me a copy, man. So it's huge, man. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for giving well over an hour of your time, man, to come chop it up with me, brother.
Oh yeah, nah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
No doubt, man. So Minority Troublers Nation, you already know what I need you to do. Do two things. Number one, leave a 5-star review in the comment, share with a friend. And then number two, make sure you changing. Make sure you keep changing the freaking culture. Good night. Boom. Hey, man.